Let's take a look together at one of the pieces which I consider one of the greatest treasures of Western civilization, the B minor Mass. Bach's B minor Mass enjoys a special place in his life's work. It's part of that group of works that he sorted through, revised, and assembled into collections in the final years of his life. The B minor Mass represents what Bach felt was his absolute best music to express the essence of each part of the text of the Latin Mass, or what we might today more typically call the Roman Catholic Mass. Bach used many of his existing movements from other pieces. If he thought he had written a piece that was, perfect to get at some idea or another, whether praise, thanksgiving, petition for forgiveness, exaltation, whatever it might be, he went ahead and used it, sometimes adapting the text to fit the Mass text. Other pieces he wrote new. And thus we can, I think, rightly assume that each piece is a quintessential look at Bach's thinking and Bach's language as to what was the sine qua non, the absolute best of all of his music at different in each of these many different parts of this larger whole of the Latin Mass. The text of the sixth movement is Laudamus Te. Again, I mentioned to you that Bach divides the bigger sections into shorter pieces to focus on words that are interesting to him. And this entire movement is on just that word, Laudamus Te. In English, as you might expect, we laud or praise you. We laud or praise you, God. And this is the first emergence of a virtuoso solo singer and a virtuoso violin solo. It is enormously virtuosic, all over the place in terms of fast notes. And so this idea of lauding and praise is shown in two ways. First of all, it's long. It goes through time. We praise through our whole lifetime. And then in the life to come in heaven, in Bach's viewpoint. But the other thing I find about this, and I wanted to show to you, is how inventive it is. Praise is not just this, okay, we praise you. Yeah, we praise you. It's not mundane. It's very creative. It's inventive. There's almost limitless creativity, plasticity, and detail within the line. And I just always love getting to this moment. And it's a huge reward when you get here to hear a great violinist and a great singer getting together. And I can't play the violin part because I don't have a violin. But he has all these bum bum these figures, and then these virtuosic kind of things, and the singer on and on and on. They go, and then they have syncopators, and then long notes that explode into motion. And then trills and leaps and all kinds of phrases. It is like something Paganini would have been proud of 150 years later or something. It is a really remarkable thing. Today I want to look at just one movement. I don't have a favorite. It's like having a large family and saying you have a favorite child. But like having a large family, at the moment you're doing it, the music, or at the moment you're celebrating a family event or something, that is your favorite. So right now, this is my favorite movement of the B minor Mass. It's the Sanctus that comes somewhat towards the end of the Mass. We know that in English as holy, holy, holy. Consider, first of all, where the text came from. The text came from the prophet Isaiah, the second and third verses. And those verses in English are, above him stood the seraphim with 6 wings. With two they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew around him and called out to one another. And here's the Sanctus text. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Heaven and earth are full of thy glory. Bach looks at all this and finds irresistible the use of various symbolisms within his music. So the first thing is he writes this piece for a 6-part choir. And that's important. Why? It's the only 6-part chorus in all of Bach's works. There is one secular pan cantata that there has a momentary of 6 in it, but for easy, it's safe to say this is the only 6-part chorus in Bach's entire work. That references Isaiah 6 and the seraphim who have 6 wings. And then he divides into 2 and 3. The 6 wings divide into 3 groups of 2, right? 2, 2, 2, 3 groups. And so Bach writes this for an orchestra of 3 trumpets, 3 oboes. It's the only place in the 27 movements of the B minor Mass calling for 3 oboes, 3 upper strings, and a 6-part chorus. Now, again, the text says above them flew, and who do they fly above but God? So all of this is symbolized in the music. God is the perfect being, and in Bach's musical language, the perfect being is represented by the most perfect musical interval, the octave. So the basses sing over and over again. Sanctus, 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 holy, holy, holy. Again, representing who all this is flying above and beyond, and that's the God. Now, the orchestra in the beginning divides into 3 groups. The 3 oboes pick up the idea of the declamatory quarter note Sanctus. Ascending praise towards God. The trumpets in groups of 3. So again, these ascending lines, and below that, the upper strings are playing. Bum 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 bum. This kind of a dancing figure. And if you think of the wings of the seraphim, you think of these sort of undulating things. The 3 voices, the top 3 voices sing. Again, that sort of that undulating idea. The lower 2 voices are going. Again, this idea of Sanctus, all above the God. I mean, if you gave me this job and said in the conservatory, write something and put all those elements in it, I mean, I guess I could have plagiarized Bach, but otherwise I'd be at a complete loss. It's just an astonishing achievement. So the Sanctus, there's these 2 verses and 2 groups, if you will, the seraphim and God. And so Bach divides the text into 2 large sections. We just looked at the first of those 2 large sections, the section where the text itself is Sanctus, Sanctus, Sanctus. The next text is Heaven and earth are full of your glory. In Latin, German Latin, pleni sunt soli et terra gloria eius. And so here the music accelerates. We get dance rhythms. The earth is full of your glory. This is something to celebrate. And then Bach does something very interesting. Let me play it for you and see what you hear. if you listen to that and think about the beat, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We call that a hemiola. There's no test on this. You don't need to remember that word, but in Baroque music, hemiolas are where the music in 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and goes suddenly into 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. If heaven and earth is full of your glory, that's everything. So for the word glory, we had all these notes. And then to show the fullness of it, we go from the one meter to the other meter. It's full in both ways, full of many notes, full of many rhythmic possibilities, full of really the only two divisions we have in music, 2 and 3. Pleni sunt soli et terra gloria eius. The other way Bach shows this, I think, is interesting. If you look at the score, you see that in the beginning, there's just one line. And then here comes a second line, and they answer. And here comes a third line, and they answer. And now we have 3 lines going. And then here comes the rest of the choir, and now the full orchestra comes in, the 3 trumpets, the 3 oboes, and the timpani, and the strings. So the fullness of glory is done in this musical form of a fugue, one voice following the other. And we have first 1, then 2, then 3, then 6, and then all the 9 parts of the orchestra come in. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. So I find this piece very, very beautiful. It's an astonishing achievement. And it is one of just 27 such moments in the B minor Mass. 27. He's 27 for 27. There's not a single bad note or movement that you'd like to omit. It's a fabulous piece. Some years ago, when radio stations were still doing this, I was invited to do one of these programs for NPR on a desert island. What would you take? You could take 5 pieces of music and 1 book on a desert island. What would you take? Well, I said the B minor Mass. And then I said, so what's left? After I picked the B minor Mass, I thought, well, that's the one I really want. It's so wonderful. So Bach in Baltimore does the B minor Mass every other season. And the thing about the B minor Mass is not only is it this mountaintop experience, but it's actually rather virtuosic. And if many places, cities of some size, there are no performances in a given year, we're pleased and privileged to present it at least once every other year here in Baltimore. And we hope you'll stay in touch with us, bachinbaltimore.org, and look for our next performance, and do come join us. Thank you.